同学们好.
老师好。
Hi, everybody. Wonderful to see you. So, welcome to section 2 of the Young Family Tai Chi Chuan traditional form. We are going to be spending, it takes about 4 and a bit months to get through the second section. So we'll probably be done sometime in October. Let me just say a few things. I'll talk about logistics in detail at the end, but I just wanted to flag a few things about what we're going to be doing. So Michael is new. I think all of the rest of us have practiced together. Welcome, Michael. I will be wearing my little red wristband. It's actually a sewn-up sock on my left arm, so that you can see which side is the left arm if you need a cue. We will be essentially learning or studying together the second section. And I think about these practices as actually having two parts to them. One is where we learn things, and the other is where we just practice together. So we'll be doing both. So there will be things which you could practice on your own, but we'll practice them in class as well. I think it's partly because most of the real, or actually all the real learning that we do, is we learn from ourselves. And actually, there's learn, which is a good old Germanic word, but then there's also to apprehend, in Spanish aprender, which is to grasp, and it's the student has to grasp. That the teacher will say things, but actually you just grasp what you hear from your body, what you hear from me. The other thing, just to set the stage for how we're going to be doing this, is classes, as usual with our school, will have, broadly speaking, 3 chunks. The first chunk will be fundamentals. The second part of the class will be reviewing the movement we did in the last class. And then the third chunk will be learning the new movement. And it'll be roughly, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I will actually be doing standing practice as part of our fundamentals in every class, because I think that we're not really just learning the movements in the second section, or in anything when we learn the hand form, we're learning the techniques. And the form and the movements are one way in which the techniques get expressed, but fundamentals is all about learning the techniques. So let us practice a bit of standing, still practice together. And really what we're learning here, if you really look at it, is how to relax, which is a core technique of Tai Chi Chuan that we'll be talking about a lot in the next few months. So let us begin our standing practice. If you wish, for those of you who feel the need for practicing in a chair, you can sit in the chair. For those of you who'll be practicing in a chair, let me just review. Sit in the chair. It should be nice and hard. You actually want your hips higher than your knees. So I need to use a little block to get my hips higher than my knees. It helps to tilt your torso forward a little bit here at the hip crease, and then rest your arms, make a nice circle with your arms, and rest the back of your hands on your upper thighs. And then just practice along with us. I will be doing it standing, but of course, it's always an option to do it sitting. And we did this, as you know, in the first section class, so we'll be spending a little bit more time here as our bodies are getting stronger. So we'll start with the basics. So start with feet shoulder width apart or a little bit wider, feet parallel, and take a breath and settle in to where you are. So what we're going to do is, as we practice, we'll have our mouth closed, the lips gently touching, the teeth gently touching, the tongue against the roof of your mouth. Open your arms. Make a nice round, nice circle with your arms. So the camera is about my eye height. So my palms are opposite my chest. and they're a big circle, about a fist width between the fingertips. Bend your knees and drop your center down. So when we do standing practice, it's a good way to practice the fundamentals of body posture. So let's do that. We'll start at the top with the top of the head. So feel the top of the head pushing up. The front of your face is vertical. So be careful that you don't jut your chin out or pull it in. So feel your crown of the head pushing up. Now feel everything else. Feel the rest of your body from the neck on down, hanging like a silk shirt or a silk blouse from a coat hanger. So the head is up and everything else is hanging down. Number 2, shoulders should be sinking. So feel your shoulder blades sinking down your back and feel your elbows dropping down. Feel that there's a little weights on strings hanging from your elbows. So your elbows are lower than your palms. Number 3, feel your elbows pulling out from your shoulders. Your shoulders pull at the center of your back. That will round your back slightly and it'll help you absorb your chest. And it's not just the upper arms. The whole arms are like the outside of a balloon. So feel your fingertips pulling on the palms, palms pulling on the elbows, elbows pull on the shoulders, shoulders pull on the back. And number 4, the term we use is relax the waist. The waist is the lower back on the back side, so your lumbar spine. And relaxing the waist means opening and extending the lower back so that the spaces between your vertebrae open. And the way you do that is by dropping your hips straight down so your pelvis is vertical. And as you do each of these things, the others probably start relaxing and you need to go back. So let's just go back to the top. Number 1, head up. Number 2, shoulders sinking, elbows dropping. Number 3, back rounded, chest absorbed. Number 4, relax the waist. And now we'll do 2 footwork checks. Attend to the soles of your feet. You want to have equal weight on the balls of your feet and the heels. So you shouldn't be able to easily pick up either the heels or the balls. If you need to adjust, fold forward at the torso, at the hip crease. Fold your torso forward at the hip crease. And you also want to have the weight equal on the inside and the outside of your feet. And the shorthand we have for that is crotch rounded, so that your legs make a nice arch shape, pressing down. Your posture, the checks that we've done now, are in aid of helping you to do abdominal breathing. So we're getting to our 5-minute mark, but just breathe smoothly and naturally in through the nose and out. And see if you can notice your abdomen sinking and extending as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, and your diaphragm goes up, your stomach comes in. Being able to do belly breathing is a good way to check your posture. So if you're not sure, for example, if your pelvis is at the right angle, go a little bit further. Let's say jut your tailbone out a bit and see if your breathing is easier or whether it tightens up. If it tightens up, you're going in the wrong direction, and come back. And you can do that for all of your posture checks. And release. So there are many ways of doing standing practice, and we'll be working our way through them. In the first section, in the beginning of the year, we did bow stance and empty stance, and actually we'll start working on single leg stance, because the second section is the flashy section of the form. I think everybody I see here pretty much knows the form. It's where we do the kicks and the turns, and it really helps to have strong legs, and actually standing practice is wonderful for developing your leg strength and also your balance. So why don't we, since we all know the first section, we'll practice the first section together from the beginning. I will just call the movements. I won't call any cues. And let's just practice that. And if there are any questions when we get to the end, let's take the questions, and then we'll review some of the movements at the end. And the Skenandoris have arrived. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Okay, we are at the beginning of the first section, so we do prepare. Feet shoulder width apart. And when we do prepare, it is in fact useful to do the checks, the posture checks that we did in standing practice. Head up, shoulders down, feel your middle finger pulling down the center of your thighs, chest absorbed, waist relaxed, weight on the bubbling well. Opening. Grass bird's tail, left ward off. Right ward off. Roll back. Press. Push. Single whip. Transition. Single whip. Raise hands. Step forward. Wide crane. Spreads its wings. Left brush knee. Hands drum loop. Left brush knee. Right brush knee. Left brush knee. Hands drum loop. Left brush knee. Step forward. Parry, block and punch. Apparent closing up. Cross hands. Closing. Original position. And stop. So there we are. And Tessie's with us. Hello. And Aileen's with us too. Welcome. So are there any questions? Yes, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little out of frame here. On using one of the 10 essentials, moving from the waist, when we are doing, for example, roll back, press and push, and a couple of those other moves, do we really want to be turning from the waist or is it from the hips?
Yes. So in a way, the answer is both, depending on which one. Which is why I gave you the rather glib answer. But primarily, when we turn from the waist, it is the waist. Sometimes we turn from the hip. So let me actually go through. We'll start from right ward off, and we'll just go through them, and I'll tell you where I think there's a hip turn as well, and where it's just a waist turn. So let us. Okay, so we're in ward off right. So from ward off right, as we do rollback, as we open, it's a waist turn. As we sit back, it's mostly a waist turn, but there is also a little bit of a hip turn. Because what you're doing is you're opening your hip so that you can really pull down. So from this position, when you're in, the straight bow stance, your hip is at a corner. It's probably to corner or slightly less than corner. When you're back here, it's opened a bit because you're essentially pulling down. Now, when you go into press, your hip turns a little bit to the right. So it's actually probably easier if I show you from here. So here, when you close, it's mostly, you see the body, the chest is turning into the arm, but actually there is a slight closing of the hips too to help you with that. That sets your hips up now for the straight bow stance as you press out. When you go into push and you square your chest, this is just a waist turn, no hip turning here and no hip movement as you go back and forwards in push.
Okay, thanks. And I can tell that you've got more root too if you use the hips on that second turn to the left.
Yes, yes. And in fact, I'm going to be reviewing the last three movements in the first section, and we'll actually see this again in apparent closing up, where the same thing happens. Because where we'll see, because you're going to go into a push from an open hip posture. Great question, Sam. Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Okay, so we're going to review parry, block, and punch, apparent closing up, and cross hands. And so let's just practice those three movements together. I will start off going in the same direction as you. I will call a lot of cues, and then we'll do each of them individually. We'll break down the steps, we'll review, see if there are questions, and consult. If there's time, I'll actually watch you doing it and see if there's anything I missed. So let us start in left brush knee. So we finished left brush knee. We're in a bow stance, left leg forward. We're striking out with the right hand, left hand by the left leg. Step forward, parry, block, and punch. One, shift weight back slightly, lift the left arm halfway. With body turning, open the left toe to the corner and the left arm comes round. You're still looking to the front. Two, both arms pull down, out to the corner at the back, look to the back. You're stepping center line two sides with the right foot, right toe to the corner. Three, shift your weight forward and do your second parry. Most of your weight now is on the right foot. Your left hand is behind the right forearm. Four, pull back the right hand to the hip as you block out with the left and you're stepping into a bow stance. And punch. Number five. Apparent closing up. One, yield forward as the left arm shuttles to the side. Two, the left arm goes back under the right arm, then pull the right arm over the center of the left forearm. You're sitting back here. Then three, Put your palms in front of your chest in preparation for push, and then push. Cross hands. 1. Start shifting back your weight and rotate the palms slightly. 2. Big deflect off to the right as the left foot comes to the straight direction. 3. Rotate the arms, drop the arms cross at the bottom when the right foot touches shoulder width apart, left arm on the front, and then lift up. And you're in cross hands. So those are the 3 movements that we're going to be reviewing in the next, 10, 15 minutes or so. So let's start with parry, block, and punch. And the usual thing, I'll do the footwork, and then we'll do the arm movements and the body movements, and then we'll put it all together. I won't do as many repetitions as we usually do, because this is review and not learning the new movement. So, parry, block, and punch. We're in a bow stance. And actually, since we're at the beginning of the thing, let's just check that we are all on the same page about what a bow stance is. So a bow stance in Young Family Tai Chi Chuan, usually the feet are either parallel, or one is in one direction, the other one's off by 45 degrees. So here the front foot is straight, the back foot is off by 45 degrees. Our feet our heels are shoulder width apart. So to check that I'm shoulder width apart, I take my back foot and rotate it so that it's parallel to the front foot. Imagine there are rails. Bring my back foot forward, and then they should be shoulder width apart. Shoulder width apart means the outside of the shoulders match the outside of the feet. The quick check is to put your thumbs together, bend over, and see if your pinkies go on your second toe. That's more or less shoulder width apart. And so that's a quick check to see how you're doing. The movement that we're going to be learning today, Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain, is notorious for being hard to step wide enough into a bow stance. So you'll probably be doing that quite a bit when you're practicing that one. So that's our bow stance. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the left toe to 45 degrees. Since we're opening it less than 90 degrees, the rule is we just shift our weight back slightly and then open the left toe to the corner. Make sure that your crotch is rounded. In other words, make sure that your toes and your knees are both pointing to their respective corners. Be careful that you're not tilting or collapsing your knee in. Keep your crotch open. Now shift your weight through. The right foot steps center line 2 sides with the right toe pointing to the right corner. Shift your weight onto the right foot, but as you do that, move your weight in the direction of your right foot so that you get the weight onto the right foot. Now step out shoulder width apart, so you're going into a bow stance, heel, ball, toe, bend knee, you're back in a bow stance. So that's the footwork. What we have here is a transition step, and as always in the form, this is the first time we actually do it, the transition step is always center line 2 side, because you want to keep your center of gravity moving in the direction of your opponent and not sort of swerve from one side to the other. So the next thing that we'll do is the arm movements. And so let's talk about arm movements. So we're in left bow stance. I'll do it this way to begin. No, this way. Left bow stance. And so now we've checked the feet. Make sure you check your body setting. Your hips should be centered between your heels. So when you're in a bow stance, you don't want your hips to be off to one side like this or off to one side like that. Your tailbone is centered between your heels. And when we're in a forward bow stance like this, you want your torso to be in line with your back leg. So we've done brush knee. So 1 is you shift your weight back slightly, lift the left arm, and with body turning, turn into your left arm. So this is like rollback position. So your left arm is rounded, left fingertip to the right forearm center, and you're still looking in the straight direction. 2, we're actually going to swing down both arms to the corner, heel touch with the right. When we are touching to the right, the left arm is to the back left corner. The right arm is rounded, and your the front of your fist is actually pointing to the corner, the same direction as your left hand. This is your first parry. Then as you shift your weight forward, circle the right arm up, as you peel off the back foot, you're actually striking out with the right fist. 3, step through with the left foot, the right fist goes to the hips, left arm blocks out, and punch. So I'll do it from this direction. There's a couple of things from the other side I want to remind you of. So 1, lift and open. 2, right arm swings down. 3, block out. 4, right fist comes to the fold of the hip. So not up here and not down here. It's right here where your leg and your hip join. And you're going to do a punch up. So make a little circle here as you punch forwards. And your ending posture, the left arm, the palm is pointing at the center of the right forearm. It's about fist width from the center of the right forearm. As I mentioned at the beginning, when we're doing standing practice, be aware of the soles of your feet. So the thing today, if you want one thing to think about how your weight is shifting from one foot to the other as you do the movement. So we'll practice that through with parry, block, and punch. Sam and I were joking about the Tai Chi symbol, the yin yang symbol at the beginning. And so Tai Chi Chuan is all about yin and yang. And so one of the yin yang pairs that we talk a lot about is distinguishing empty and full. And one of the empties and fulls is the weight. So which foot is full? So here, this foot is full. All the weight is on it. As I put my other foot down, I shift my weight onto that foot becomes full. One of the other essentials of yin yang is that they're always changing. One is changing into the other. As soon as there's life, yin is changing into yang and yang is changing into yin. So you'll see that as you do the form, the weight goes onto a foot and off the foot and onto the foot and off the foot. So let's pay attention to that now as we do parry, block, and punch. So we're 60% of the weight on the front leg, 40% on the back. Shift weight back slightly and turn the foot. Now, when you have opened the left arm, re-establish your weight on the left foot. As both arms circle down, all your weight goes onto the left foot. Step through, heel touch with the right. As you parry forward, you're pouring all your weight into the right foot, and you're peeling the weight off your left foot. Strike through, heel touch. So now you're going to push your weight from the back foot and pour 60% of the weight into the front foot. That's parry, block, and punch. Are there any questions about that? Okay, let's do apparent closing up. So with apparent closing up, we have finished parry, block, and punch. So we finished in a left bow stance, torso forward, punching out, arm parallel, his palm is out from the shoulder, and the left palm is opposite the left forearm. The first thing we're going to do in terms of weight, so you can use your arms if you wish, but you don't have to, is we're going to yield forward. Our weight isn't going to shift, but our shoulder is going to shift. We're going to turn the body slightly. Then we're going to sit back our weight onto the back leg. We're going to close the hip slightly and push forward. Let me do it in this direction. So we're starting here, 60% on the front. As we sit back, we're now only 30% on the front. So we've poured 70% of the weight into the back leg. What I want you to pay attention to here is crotch rounded. So make sure that your knees are in line with the toe. It's very easy to collapse your particularly the front knee, in here. Make sure that the front knee is out so that both feet are resting down. Now we're going to press forward. And Sam, this is the same as in going from press to push. We actually are going to turn our chest to square, and actually there's a slight hip turn. It goes from maybe a bit more than corner to a little less than corner. As you go from a bit more than corner to a bit less than corner, make sure that your right knee doesn't collapse. Keep your right knee pointing in the direction of your right foot, and then you're going to push forward back to 60% on the front. Now we'll do the arm movements. So we're in parry, block, and punch. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the left arm out to the side, and you'll see this is just in a horizontal. My left arm goes out to the side, and then it goes under the right, and then the left comes forward. And as the left comes forward, I pull my right arm over my left forearm and I shift my weight backwards. And so from this direction, you can see I'm going to come out here. The left shuttles under the right, goes forward and out. From here now, so we've done this pull back. We're going to sit our palms in front of the chest, ready to push out. The one thing that I want you to be very careful of here is make sure that you still have a fold in the front of your torso so that you're not back like this. You want to keep sitting with your torso tilted slightly. And the reason for that is somebody pushes you, they push into your back leg. They don't push you over. So you're here, number 3, and then you push forward into push. The thing that I want to just underline in terms of the arm movement, and if you were to look at parry, block, and punch from a ceiling cam, I'm going to try and simulate a ceiling cam. The left hand goes back and makes a circle out like this. So it's actually this circle. It's more or less in a plane. The left hand goes up slightly at the end, but it's actually a horizontal circle. Most of the circles we've done in the form so far have been more vertical circles. So let's put all this together for apparent closing up. So we've done parry, block, and punch. Apparent closing up. 1, yield forward with body turning, left arm goes to the left. 2, as you sit back the weight, left goes under right, right pulls over left. You're sitting back, 70% on the back leg. 3, palms in front of chest, turn your chest to the square direction, ready for number 4, which is push out. And your finish position here is you should again be in your standard bow stance, torso and back leg in a line, arms pressing out, palms at shoulder height. Okay, that is apparent closing up. Any questions? Okay, and now one of my current favorite movements, cross hands. And actually, Sam, this also, cross hands, is a wonderful place to see the thing that you raised in terms of principles, which is upper and lower go together. So the way that the principle of upper and lower goes together is stated in the Tai Chi Chuan classics, is that the energy is rooted in the feet, generated by the legs, distributed through the waist, and manifested in the arms. One movement, feet to leg to waist to hand, one breath, one impulse. Actually, the classics say one chi. So that is what we can actually see in the very first infinitesimal part of cross hands. We see that. So let's practice that together. So we've done push. So we're in left bow stance, push. The first thing we do is we push back our weight slightly and we start turning to the right because we're going to do this block to the right. And what I want you to see if you can find is as you push back with your leg, and actually it's mostly the left heel, feel the leg beginning to turn your waist. And then as the waist turns, it turns the right arm. So your palms are actually like turning two faucets. Your palms are going to go from this position to this position. And it's actually the pushing back with your legs that makes the arms turn. So it's one energy that goes from your left heel into your right hand. And that's just one. Step one. So step one, start pushing back, start rotating both hands. 2, deflecting out to the corner as your left foot comes to the front. 3, arms turn over as the arms cross, feet touch, and lift up. So let's just review the weight and the footwork. So 1 is we're pushing back. Now we're actually going to turn the front foot through 90 degrees. And the rule is if it's 90 degrees or more that we're turning, shift your weight all the way back. So as we shift back, turn your weight, shift your weight all the way onto the right. That'll make it easy to turn your left foot to square. Now pour all your weight back into the left foot so that you can pick up the right and put it down shoulder width apart and then equalize the weight. That's the footwork. Arm movements. We've done a push. We're opening. And what I want you to imagine is that somebody is striking at you from the corner and you're deflecting that strike away. So the first part of the movement is deflect. Now you're going to rotate both arms. And as you rotate the arms, remember, we're rotating the arms in the plane of the arms. We're not flapping the arms forward. We're straightening the arms and rotating them. Then as you shift your weight onto the left, touch with the right foot as the arms cross, left on the outside and lift. And the last thing is, where are we looking? So we start looking at the side, start pushing back your gaze as usual, follows the leading hand, which is the right hand. So when you're here, you're looking at the right corner. As the right hand drops, you look to the front and maintain your gaze to the front all the way through to the end of cross hands. Last thing to observe here, as you're doing cross hands, remember what we were doing in standing practice, right? So in standing practice, we were essentially saying absorb the chest, so pull out at the elbows. The cross hands is the same shape, your arms are just closed a little bit. So be sure to actually feel this pulling out. Feel as if somebody's holding onto your forearms and pulling them away from your chest. Don't just collapse your arms in like this. They're nice and out and rounded. And if you can, both fingertips are about the same height. And your closing is, you're not closing at the wrists. You're closing a little bit towards this, the forearm. Between the wrists and the center of the forearms is roughly where you're closing. Everybody's looking really good. Okay, we don't have time to practice that together because I want to get onto the new movement, but let me see if there are any questions. Okay. No questions. So the new movement that we're going to start learning today is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. It comes in essentially 2 parts. We're just going to study part 1 today. And so let me demonstrate it and then we'll break it down. So we're starting in cross hands. And embrace tiger, return to the mountain. Shift weight to the right. Turn the left toe in. Hands don't change. 2, open the right arm. Do a brush knee and push. Almost to the back corner. And that's as far as we're going to go today. So that's the first part of Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. And so let's review the footwork. So we're starting in cross hands, so feet shoulder width apart, right? You can do your check. We're going to pivot on the left heel. And so shift your weight to the right before you pivot the left heel. So shift your weight, I'll do it this way. So shift your weight to the right. That allows your left foot to pivot. Pivot your left foot almost to 90 degrees, but not quite. If you pivot it all the way to 90 degrees, you'll feel your hips are very tight. Your crotch is very crowded. Then pick up the right foot and step out into a bow stance. Oh, you can't see my right foot. Let's do it this way. So shift the weight to the right. Pivot on the left heel. Now again, we're talking about yin and yang. So the right is full. Now fill the left. So shift your weight all the way onto the left. Now you can lift up your right foot easily, bring it in, and then step out to a bow stance, going into the almost corner direction, heel, ball, toe, bend, knee. The ending posture for Embrace Tiger Return to the Mountain is a standard bow stance, but it's in a non-standard direction. So let's just think about the arithmetic here. So we're going to turn our left toe almost to straight. That means that when we step out with the right foot, in order to have 45 degrees between my back foot and my front foot is almost to 45 degrees, but not quite. So if you don't believe me, and I sometimes don't believe me, if I actually turn my left foot all the way to the straight direction and I do a bow stance, then my left toe will be to the corner because that's 45 degrees.
Pierre?
The reason why I've made such a big deal about moving your weight backwards and forwards is that it's quite easy to lose your balance with this one if you don't shift your weight back onto the left. So shift your weight to the right, turn the left foot in. Now shift your weight back to the left. You're going to pick up your right foot. If you've left some weight on the right leg and you pick up your right leg, you're going to fall forward. So make sure that all your weight is onto the left before you pick up the right foot. And step it out to the corner, heel, ball, toe, bend, knee.
Pierre, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when we're in our first pose and we shift our weight and we're rotating the left foot directly ahead and we're shifting our weight back, is it okay to do a little bit of a pivot on the toe of the right foot, or do you want us to just lift and step into a bow stance?
Okay. So very nice question, Sam. And the answer, so your question is, how do I lift my right foot, right? And so what you've described is exactly the right way to do it. Because as you shift your weight back, as you release your right foot, you lift the heel first and then the toe. Then you step out. So the transition goes lift heel, lift ball, lift toe, step out, touch with the ball, touch with the heel, ball, toe, come down.
Okay, perfect. So the pivot isn't actually on the foot, it's more in the air to the bow stance.
Yeah, and so the pivot is almost like a side effect, because the reason for the pivot is that as you release, your hips are releasing. So it's actually your hip is coming around, and that's what might make you feel as if you're pivoting your foot. But it's actually the hip turning that's making the foot movement. Again,
Okay.
the waist and the hips lead the limbs.
There's that answer again. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Young style Tai Chi Chuan is like Lego. You just keep using the same blocks over and over and over again. Okay. Any more questions about the footwork? Okay, so now we'll do the arm movements. So we've started in cross hands. Shift weight to the right. 1, pivot. Left foot almost straight. Your arms have not done anything. Nothing has happened here. Number 2, you're going to release your right arm, So the right elbow will drop, the right arm will open, then the left arm will go down and the right arm will go up. So down circle and up circle, step and push. Now, if you look at your ending posture, this is the ending posture of right brush knee, right? So let's, in order to just fix that in our minds, let's go from left brush knee to right brush knee. So we start in left brush knee. So left leg forward, right arm pushing out. Shift weight back slightly, open. Now you're going to down circle with the left hand and the right hand is going to go up circle to the back corner, heel touch. Brush as the foot flattens. Push as you come forward. Do that again. So we start in left brush knee. Shift weight back slightly, open the front toe, roll back position with the left arm. Left arm goes down, right arm goes up. And they join at the corner. You're looking to the corner, brush and push. And so the arm movements here are, it's essentially the same. I will call Susan in a few moments and show you the applications, and you'll see that the application is slightly different in Embrace Tiger from brush knee, but there's a lot of similarities. But before I do that, I just want to belabor the point about what the right arm does. So let's start like this. So we're here, and I'm not going to do the body turning just so that you can see the right arm. So my right arm is going to come more vertical. So it's going to come more vertical like this. And then if you look at it from the side, as it comes vertical, it's also going to open. So you're going to drop the elbow and drop the palm. Then from here, it's going to go up and press down as you do in brush knee. So this is that deflect movement in brush knee. So what I want you to focus on is the right hand. Drop the elbow, open the right hand. Now there's a little circle here as the right arm goes up and presses down. After that, it's just brush knee. But I want to emphasize now the body turning to make sure that our arms are pointing in the right direction. So we're starting in cross hands. And actually, there's no good way for me to show it, because if I go in your direction, you end up going backwards and you can't see the camera. So you should just figure out what works for you. Let me start here. Yeah, I'll start here. So one, left toe almost to straight. Sit back the weight, release the right arm. Circle up with the right arm, down with the left, step out. Now, if you remember when you were doing brush knee and push, your arms were almost to the back corner. So here your arm, it's very easy for us not to open wide enough. So make sure that you open wide enough here. And that actually is a waist turn. Then as the left arm comes to the shoulder and the right arm brushes, we flatten the foot, the right leg doesn't bend yet. Then push with the left leg, bend the right leg, and strike out. So let me actually go and get Susan. I want to show you the applications that hopefully will make some sense of what these things are doing. All right, so we'll start with just reviewing where we were in the first section. We'll do, if you remember, we had white crane to left brush knee and right brush knee. So let's just do that. So yep, that should work. So I'm in white crane. Susan punches. I deflect down, open, and punch. If Susan steps back and punches with the other side, I can step through and deflect again. This is right brush knee. And in fact, what you can hopefully see is that my right foot is behind her foot. I've trapped her foot. And now if I actually finish my brush, she's going to fall over. So this actually is what the brush does. It makes your opponent fall over. And the Chinese for brush, knee, and push actually isn't brush, knee, and push. It's brush, knee, twist, step. Lao Shi Ao Bu. Ao is like twist, and it's a takedown movement. So let me just show that again with Susan. So I'm here. I deflect down here. I can punch, but if she punches, I step behind and then do this. That takedown movement over the leg is exactly what we do. It's the same technique in Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. And so this is one instance of what we're learning through our Tai Chi Chuan practice is not a series of movements. It's a bunch of techniques. The movements just show up in the techniques, and they're all slightly different because it depends on what your opponent does, but it's really about the techniques, not the movements. So Susan is coming from behind me and she grabs me from behind. What I'm going to do is step behind her and brush. And actually I can punch her to the midriff here. So let's just do that again. Susan grabs, I step behind, brush, and if I'm feeling aggressive, push. The reason why I wanted to show that to you as well, could just hold on one second, Susan, is just to emphasize when we do this movement, the right foot comes in and steps out again. So remember that when you are stepping out, don't swing your leg out here. You want to bring the leg in and step out. And the reason for that is if Susan comes up behind me and I step behind her, I'm in a world of hurt because she still controls me because my leg has tried to go here. What I need to do is step behind her. That's why my foot comes in and then goes out. Thank you, Susan. Okay. So before we practice that a whole bunch of times, are there any questions? Okay, let's practice. So I'll start in this direction, the same direction as you probably, and we'll do it along the lines of the freeze frames. Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. 1, shift your weight to the right. With body turning, the left toe turns almost to the side direction. 2, shift your weight onto the left. Release your right arm, so elbow drops, palm opens, brush, and step out. Now do the brush and push. Again. 1, shift weight to the right, turn the left toe in, arms don't change. 2, sit back your weight, open the arms. 3, step out into a bow stance. Check that your left arm is pointing more or less to the straight direction. Brush as the foot flattens and the left arm comes to the shoulder and push. Going forward. Again. Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. Shift your weight to the right. Pivot on the left heel. Sit back the weight, release the right arm. Little circle with the right arm circles up, left circles down. Step out. Brush and push. Again, and this time I'm going to pause in a few places and we'll just check whether our posture and alignment is good. Okay, we're in cross hands. 1, shift weight to the right, turn the left toe in. Is most of your weight, almost all your weight on the right foot here. Now shift all your weight onto the left foot. Pick up the left foot, so heel first, then pick up the toe. And bring the right foot in and step out. You're going to step out into a bow stance here. We'll check our bow stance in a second, but check that your left arm is right arm fingertips to left forearm center. Brush, flatten the foot. Now check, is your crotch rounded? So is your back knee still over the, pointing in the direction of your back toe, or have you collapsed it in? So make sure your crotch is rounded. Now push forward. Check your posture, torso aligned with the back leg. So look down your shoulder, hip, ankles. Is that more or less a straight line? And now we'll check our bow stance. So remember how we check the bow stance. Take the back foot, pivot it on the back heel so that it's parallel to the front foot. Now imagine the feet are both on rails. Try not to cheat. Bring your back foot forward parallel to the front foot so that they're next to each other, and check your bow stance. And if you're anything like me, it probably isn't quite a bow stance. Yes, actually, I see thumbs up. Good work, Sharon. Good work, Yukiko and Marion. Other people are not admitting to where they are. Yes, Michael.
I have a tendency to come around.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. Go ahead, say again.
I have a tendency to come around with my left knee. I come around here. It seems to collapse inward instead of pointing outward. It comes around and it seems that natural for it to want to come. It's not
Yes.
pointing this way. It's turning this way.
So
Makes sense?
let me just check that I understood what you were saying, Michael, because the sound wasn't very good for me. So what I think what you were saying is when you come in and you're stepping out here, it feels as if your left knee wants to tilt in, wants to collapse in.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's natural, but it's not good for your knee long term. And it's not what we want to do. So the thing to do is the first step you've already done, which is to be aware that that's what you're doing. The second step is when you step out to make sure that it doesn't collapse. And actually, I think one thing that I can't see you very well, that might help is when you shift back your weight, make sure that your hip, your left hip, is over the bubbling well of your left foot so that you can actually move your right foot quite easily without your leg moving. Then step out. Your knee should still be in line with your toe. Now what you need to do as you push forward is just make sure that you keep your crotch open going forward.
Yeah.
Is that working?
I can feel it.
Okay.
I can feel the difference.
Okay, excellent. Good. So let's do that together one more time and then we'll call it good. So we are in cross hands. Embrace tiger, return to the mountain. 1, shift weight to the right, pivot on the left heel. 2, shift weight back, release the right arm, circle up with the right, down with the left, close and step, heel touch, bow stance, brush and push. And you're finished, your head is up, you're looking in the same direction as your front toe. So your left foot is pointing in the same direction. Sorry, your right foot is pointing in the direction of your left hand, and it's the direction where you're looking. Your right fingertips are also pointing in the same direction as your right toe. And stop. 同学们，再见。
Sure, 再见。
再见。